Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Yellow Squared podcast. My name is Ned, and I'm joined by my brother James. Good evening, James. How are you doing?
Yeah, good evening, mate. Yeah, I'm very good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm not doing too badly. It is the international break. But first of all, before we talk any international news with Watford and the little sort of special we've got planned, we'll delve into the thrilling, I'll say thrilling, 3-all draw. So, James, we were
Yeah,
talking on the pod last week about how we hadn't scored in like 5 hours of football now, and it was all
yeah,
getting a little bit concerning. And then we
yeah.
went and scored 3 goals. And the new man, Rajovic, popping up with 2 goals. How good was he on Saturday, James?
I thought, he scored 2 goals, so I don't think you can,
Yeah,
I don't think you can say he had a bad game at all.
no, no.
Yeah, really, really pleased. Delighted that he scored. I think the kind of goals that he scored were um, exactly in the mold of the kind of striker that you wanted to score. You know,
Yeah,
alive and alert in the box, quick, determined, aggressive to get in front of his man, um, which he did for the first goal, and then was obviously alive and alert and had the fitness later on in the game to be able to catch up with Bio, who'd closed the ball down, for it to be pulled back to him to make it. To make it 3-2 at that point.
yeah,
And I was really encouraged with him. I thought also his link-up play was pretty good as well.
mm,
Um, a few good sort of touches in and around sort of the defence. But again, still early days for him. But off the back of that showing, positive signs.
yeah, yeah. Absolutely. I think the uh, the positions he got himself into and just the way that he let the play build off him were really encouraging. He led the line pretty well. I think it will offer a little bit of a different dimension to what Bio gives you. I don't think he will run as much as Bio does. I don't think he'll
No,
cover the distance that Bio does. But I think having him, he's a massive guy. Like
yeah,
he'll just be able
yeah,
to keep the ball, let the play board off him. And I know we had a little bit of a disagreement off camera, but I genuinely don't think Bio scores the first goal. I think the willingness of Rajovic to obviously you see he falls over and then gets back up and
yeah,
still powers his way through the defenders and gets onto the end of the ball. So that's really encouraging. I don't think he's going to score many pretty goals for Watford, but they will be goals nonetheless, and it's exactly what you need from
yeah.
£1 million striker in the Championship. I think he
Yeah.
could easily get himself 15 goals this season if he carries on the way he did.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned a little disagreement off air because I sort of put forward that I thought Bio would also have scored those chances. Um, we're not going to get into the hypotheticals,
No.
but I would also like to just touch on Bio because
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
thought it, I thought it was really encouraging the way that he came off the bench and ran his socks off and forced the third goal, and also having closed down the defender, forced a weak back pass. He then did cut the ball back
mm,
um,
mm.
to his replacement effectively for him to score when he could quite easily have decided to take on the shot himself if he wanted to. I think that really just shows the kind of the make of the make of the guy
Yeah,
really.
yeah.
And it might also go some way to show the team ethos that's been instilled in the team. So I just really wanted to give Bio a quick shout out. Um, but also just going back to Rivich and sort of the chances that he had in the game, I thought it was a big difference in terms of how we created chances compared to Blackburn. I know we spoke at length about the
Yeah,
number of shots we had, and we just couldn't find that final ball. I thought it was noticeable on Saturday, just actually the number of crosses that started to go in.
mm.
I thought Tom Ince played really well,
Oh
and
yeah, yeah.
obviously obviously he got the assist, but he looked like he knew what he wanted to do
Mm.
when he got into position, just to stand the ball up or get a cross in, or cut in and have that shot. And I thought Sema at left back, his delivery was good as well, when he got into position. So I don't know whether or not they were told just to try and get more crosses in and be a little bit more direct in those final third areas,
Mm.
which if that was the case, um, was encouraging. I don't know what you thought.
No, I think it was quite different to the way we attacked against Blackburn. I don't know whether that's kind of what you'd expect, given that one was at home where you'd expect to have a lot of the ball, and one where it was away from home, and you wouldn't tend to have the ball as much as the away side. But I think it was
Mm.
interesting that overall the stats, the possession was felt relatively balanced, but the way we attacked seemed much more direct and cutting compared to Blackburn. So I don't know if they just sort of worked on some little different things over the week, but it definitely seemed like, well, you see for the first goal, Sema's ball out wide to Tomic is
Yeah,
absolutely cutting through the midfield, and I think maybe against Blackburn we did just sort of move the ball around the back a bit more, trying patiently to wait for an opening when these players are very comfortable on the ball, and you'd expect them to be able to make these kind of passes. I do think that it's really refreshing to see somebody like Tom Ince. I know we had a bit of a joke that he looked like a 58,000 pound player on his debut against Stoke, but you
yeah,
know what? I'll take my hat off to him. He knows what he's doing in the final third, and it just seems a bit more controlled. It doesn't. It feels like you'll get a bit more of an end product with him when you compare him to maybe Sema on the wing, or maybe one of these younger players like Asprey, for example, where it's a little bit more hit and miss. But
yeah.
ultimately, I do think we attacked with a bit more directness. But yeah, no, really, really positive signs. A definite step in the right direction
Mm.
in terms of going forward. Uh,
Yeah, well, I
less,
was waiting for this.
less could be said about the
Yeah,
defence. Um, but we won't dwell on that for too long. But yeah, another game where it does just feel a little bit like on another day. But given that
we've
we
had a lot
are,
of that.
yeah, I know. But given that we are 18th in the championship right now, I really am still quite positive about Watford right now. Which, well,
Yeah,
if you just looked at the table and the form, it would be quite baffling.
I think so, and I think like some of the underlying stats would also kind of back up that feeling. I think in terms of,
Yeah,
I'm not going to get into it because I'm not particularly conversant in all of the stats, but I know that I listened to the Watford Buzz podcast last week, and they did a great job of sort of discussing that. But yeah, I think the underlying stats would suggest we should be much higher up in the table with much more points.
yeah,
Um, so I think we're trending in the right direction. I think
oh yeah, oh yeah,
I think it will come with time, and barring some calamitous defending, because
yeah,
I think you can also. I know we said that the style of football playing out from the back is going to lead to chances being given to the opposition, and we can
yeah,
kind of deal. But I still also believe that, particularly Saturday, we didn't give we didn't give Coventry a chance. We absolutely gifted them the goals. Was that we didn't give up a chance by playing out from the back.
yeah,
Poor Hoot's own goal is a complete calamity, um,
yeah, yeah.
and that's individually on him. So that's a goal that shouldn't have come at all. And the free kick was well struck. It was, I think it was one of them where
Mm.
he's put the ball in a spot which is very very difficult for any goalkeeper to get to. Also because of sort of where it bounced, it's actually quite a difficult shot to save. So credit to the guy for that free kick.
Yeah, yeah. I do
And
think though. Sorry, just to jump in
no
here.
no no
I just think the way Backman dives. I don't know whether it seems a little bit like he kind of dives over the ball, like he's expecting it to go wide. Um, but it was a good free kick. Like there's nothing you can really do to stop something like that when it's placed like that well in the corner. But I don't know whether Batman could get a hand to it or something. But that was probably the only goal that they scored on Saturday, which was of some genuine quality, really.
I know they talk about the third goal being a foul on Porteous, but I don't know. Personally, for me, I think he went down way too easily. He made it easy
Yeah,
for the ref.
yeah.
Way. So it wasn't Hugo Porteous' best games in
No,
Watford
no.
shirts by any
Oh
stretch
no,
of the eye.
no.
And weirdly, actually, I thought Batman did actually pretty well, to be honest, with the penalty save, which also wasn't a penalty
Oh,
in my
never,
opinion.
never a penalty. No.
I don't really know what more Porteous could have done actually to get his arm in to
Unless he
try and stop.
removed his arms, I don't
Yeah,
really
I
know
thought
what.
I thought that was a bit harsh. So I thought justice was done there. But
Absolutely, absolutely.
um,
Yeah,
yeah, I feel like that one was just kind of more frustrating because we hit the self-destruct button rather than actually the style of play gifting sort of Coventry too many sort of like openings, in my opinion.
yeah. I just wanted to touch a little bit, James, on
Mm.
the performance away from home at Coventry this season compared to last season. And I know
Yeah,
people are
yeah,
going to be quite sick of me quoting stuff from last season, but I think the stark difference is so apparent here. It does kind of need to be mentioned. So please forgive me if you are one of the people that find it annoying. But the way the mentality has changed so much to the fact that we could take the lead, be pegged back, take the lead again, then be pegged back by our own mistake, and then take
yeah.
the lead again. I think that speaks massive volumes on the mentality of the team and the ability to pick ourselves up off the canvas, basically, on two separate occasions, especially with the second goal. And obviously, I was there when we drew 2-2 last season, and the atmosphere that the Coventry fans sort of generate when they're on the front foot is it's loud, and they turned it into a complete bear pit last season. So the fact that mentally this Watford team was strong enough to overcome that, because you could hear it. There was it wasn't quite as good as last season from Coventry's point of view, but you could definitely hear the momentum in the crowd building, and then
Mm.
obviously for us to hit back and then hit back again, it's really pleasing, and it definitely suggests that we're definitely trending in the right direction mentally as well as the football on the pitch. I don't know what you thought about that, James, but thought it was quite interesting to bring up.
No, yeah, I agree with you, and I think I'll just kind of refer back to what we said in the last pod, just about kind of our thoughts on how the Pozzos view progress on and off the pitch, and I think that speaks volumes to how the team is being coached at the moment, and the mentality within the squad. There looks like there is a togetherness,
Mm,
and there looks like there is a plan, which I think as Watford fans is all we can ask for.
yeah,
So yeah, whilst people will look at where the squad is in the table going into the international break and be concerned, I'm less concerned at the moment because so far in every game, barring I think the Stoke game in the first half, um, we've looked like we've known what we're doing and we've had a plan and we've been playing to that plan and we've
for
been
sure, for sure.
sort of the team in the ascendancy, I think. So yeah, I'm relatively positive right now. Might not sound it, but I'm relatively positive.
No, yeah, same here. I think generally Watford fans are in the boat that whilst the position in the league isn't the best, that the football is far better than it has been in the past couple of seasons. There seems to be a plan, which is very nice to see being executed, like you said.
Yes.
But yeah, generally, I'm still very positive, despite us actually being 18th in the league, which we haven't said that in a long time in the championship. So yeah, very positive. Just need the results on the board, but really really
Yeah.
positive to see us back scoring some goals, and
Yeah.
hopefully that will give them a bit more confidence going forward. So that's the little roundup from the Coventry game on Saturday. So, James, big
Yeah.
question, big question.
Mm.
The window shut, very, very little activity on the Watford side of things on the final day of the window. Interestingly, I saw Udinese made about 7 signings on deadline day, so I was really concerned that we were about to get a Keenan Davis last minute loan um, to Watford this for the season. Uh, but he stayed at Udinese, so that's fine. But James,
Yeah.
noticing now that we've made how many? We've made six signings this season
Hmm.
um, to strengthen the squad, and about 20 something players have left. Do you
Yes.
think the squad is strong enough to compete towards the top end of the league?
Um, that is a great question, and I think it's very difficult in the Championship to sort of say is a squad strong enough to compete at the top end of the Championship just by looking at it on paper. Because
That's a fair point.
I don't want to really bring them up, but you've got to look at the people, the enemy down the road. They absolutely had a squad that should have been nowhere near the top of the Championship, and they got promoted through togetherness, being well coached, and kind of buying into a style of play and a system.
Yeah, no, I
Uh,
agree. I agree.
so I'm gonna that's kind of where I'm coming at from looking at it. Is the squad strong enough to compete at the top end of the Championship? On paper, no, I don't think so. Um, just because I think we lack a little bit of depth.
Mm.
But and that I think is down to Valerian Ismail wanting to work with a smaller squad. Now, I think, if I'm being honest, that's the only thing that's going to come back to bite Val down the line. Is he was pretty clear that he wanted a small squad. There was sort of quotes from him on deadline day talking about how the fact that they're looking at some signings, but if nothing comes in, then he's happy with it. And there's been quite a lot of that messaging throughout the window, being talking about how Valerian is sort of wanting 2 players for each position. He wants a small squad. He's in lots of discussion with, the ownership, Scott Duxbury and Ben Manga and the team, with how the squad is being recruited for. So he's been pretty open with that one. So I think that's the only thing that really can probably come back to bite him if it does start to go wrong, or if injuries start to creep in, is that he didn't sort of fight for a bit more depth. But a bit of a long-winded way of saying, no, I don't think we're on paper strong enough. But if we can cultivate that mentality, then I don't see why we can't, go up against some of these big teams. I mean, look at what happened to Southampton at the weekend.
Yeah,
Turned over by Sunderland. It's doable. It's all possible. And I think I just worry a little bit just about the lack of maturity in the squad in some places. And I think you're just going to have to deal with some inconsistencies. But I think the squad is strong enough to try and sneak into the playoffs. I'm still not budging from my preseason prediction of, what was it, 10th to 6th or something,
yeah. I
12th
think
to
we
12th
said
to
around
6th,
there.
or
Yeah.
12th to 5th or something like that. I'm not budging from that prediction at the moment. What about you? What do you think?
Well, I think the turnover was a little bit more unexpected than I would have thought about towards the end of last
Yeah.
season, given that it really seemed like there was a huge disconnect between what the fans were asking for and what the ownership was providing. But generally, I think whilst losing both Sa and Pedro, I think in total the squad um, feels a little bit stronger. And I'll say that lightly because obviously we've got a long way to go and we don't quite have the flair and attacking threat that we've had in previous seasons. But I think generally bringing in sensible signings, sensible players for the league, rather than just we'll sign 35 players because we've sold 20.
Yeah.
I think that's far more sensible, and it's a really good start to the rebuild of the club. Back to the question though, on paper, like you said, I don't think the squad is strong enough. I agree with the point that if 80% of the squad stop having working hamstrings in December like we had last season, then the squad size could be a small issue.
Yeah.
Um, but, then again, if the squad is gelling together, works hard for each other, and is a team rather than 11 individuals, we've seen it before with Luton. Fair play to them. They didn't have a good score on paper at all, really. But it just shows the coaching, the mentality, and I think what we've got with Valerian here is something relatively similar. I think we have more quality than Luton did last season, but depth wise, quality wise, I think I'm not going to budge from my pre-season predictions just yet. Um, when we win 5 in a row and I start saying we'll win a lot, that's when it will change. But at this moment in time, we're not budging. I think we're sensible to not budge here. The squad, it's getting there. It's getting the rebuild is in process, but I don't think anyone could expect an entire rebuild to happen in one window, let alone a season. So that's where I'm at with it. Again, a very long-winded way of saying no, but yeah, I think it's a no, but it's kind of like there are both strengths and weaknesses with the current squad, which were different to last season. So still positives, but squad size, that kind of thing, could be a bit of a dampener at some point in the season. So moving on from the Championship squad this season,
Yeah.
did you want to talk about the 6 first team players who are away on international duty? Because we haven't really spoken about players being away on international duty on the pod before, but I thought it could be a nice little segment, James. So,
Yeah.
so 6 players. That's
Mhm.
must be the biggest for a decent little while. I can't think at the end of last season there was many that were going away, other than maybe Will Justekong and a couple of others. So we'll rattle the names off, James. Dan Bachman, Ken Sema, Georgi Chakvatadze, Ryan Porteus, Edo Kembe, and obviously the youngest of Lions, Ryan Andrews.
Yeah.
6
Yeah. Great.
players. Go on.
No, no. I was just gonna say I was gonna dive straight into Ryan Andrews just to
Oh
say
yeah, please do.
yeah. No, I'm just gonna say I'm really delighted for him. It's kind of it's exactly everything that we wanted to see with the club and how it's developing its young talent. It really shows a pathway to those coming through that you can get into the first team squad, you can then stay in the first team squad, and then that can lead to international call-ups. So delighted for him for everything he's done and for his performances, and I think his performances have absolutely merited a call-up to the England setup, and I really hope that gives him the confidence to sort of kick on from there.
Yeah, I agree. I think it definitely should give him that sort of boost in confidence that, I am here, I deserve to be here, and, I'm now one of the best in the country at that age group, which will give him no end of confidence, going into the Championship the rest of the season, particularly if he keeps that spot in future games. I think it's just more of a training camp rather than playing international fixtures this one. But it's still great experience, great
Yeah.
exposure, more than anything. So very pleased for him. Big well done. So I think we'll move on then, James, to Ryan Porteus.
Yeah.
obviously he didn't have the best game against Coventry in a Watford shirt, and then he's got to face England in the international break. So how do you see this going, really? Because obviously we're both English, so
Uh,
obviously I'm saying we want England to win, but then again, it's like Porteous is what a man. That's the only way you can describe him, really.
yeah, he wears a magic hat.
He does wear the magic hat. So
Yeah.
again,
No,
it's
but like, again, it's always great, isn't it? And he's got a fantastic record for Scotland as well. You know, he's kept a clean sheet against Spain. You know, he's really sort of forging himself a regular spot in the Scottish team. So, you know, always pleased to see players doing well for their country. And it's nice to, you know, it's always nice to hear like commentators and sort of people reference, you know, the club that they're, you know, coming from in the international setup. And I always loved hearing Watford in international
oh yeah,
conversations.
oh yeah.
So yeah, so again, you know, I'm always happy to see it. And you know, a little bit like yourself, don't want him to do too well against England, especially because it's Scotland as well. Sorry, Scottish fans out there. But also, my appetite for international football outside of major tournaments is absolutely zero. So if Porto steps up and nods in a winner for Scotland, I'll also be delighted for him.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same over here, really. I'm not particularly too interested. I much prefer club football outside of major tournaments, which probably makes us sound like two of the most plastic England fans on earth. But then again, club football is so much better than international football. So, you know, put a complaint in the comments section, and I might look at it. So we'll move on to two other Hornets. Dan Backman and Ken Sema, who are actually coming up against each other in the international break, with Austria and Sweden playing each other in a friendly in Stockholm. And I think it's just really, really great to see two of the more experienced players in the squad still kicking about in the international setup for both of their countries.
Yeah,
Particularly with Sema, I think Sweden have really, really good attacking options. So it's really, really promising that he still is getting picked. Obviously, they like him. So brilliant for Sema, and obviously Batman, Austria's number one. Just more great experience, really. And like you said, it's always nice to hear Watford being referenced when these kind of players are out on international duty.
It's funny, isn't it? It's funny, isn't it, that Man United want to sign him or wanted to sign him at one point, and he's Austria's number one goalkeeper, keeping out some big names, playing international tournaments and European qualifying games, at the international level. But yeah, he's clearly absolutely garbage and shouldn't ever be picked for Watford or be the captain. So you'll sense my cynicism there. Okay, yeah, a bit tired of some of the aspects of Watford Twitter.
It does sound a bit like a broken record at times, really. It's just the same points over and over again. Yeah. So we'll move on to the final two Hornets. Obviously, Chatvatadze is going away with Georgia. James, we had a little bit of a natter off camera, just sort of saying that Georgie must be absolutely fuming that he's breaking into senior football. It's going really well. He's got to move to England, and he's sort of fighting one of the best attacking midfielders probably in the world at the moment in Kvaratskhelia for a place in the Georgian side. So
Watching that,
it must be incredibly frustrating. Given that I've not really heard of many Georgian football players, I'll be brutally honest. But it just happens to be that they've got two very talented guys in the same position, which probably is more unfortunate for Georgian fans more so than anything. But hopefully he gets on. He might play a bit more of a central midfielder role because I think that guy Kvaratskhelia can play sort of left and right wing as well. So
Wide, didn't they?
yeah, so hopefully he gets some minutes, which would be good for him, adding to his existing 16 caps already, which is pretty good for Georgie.
Yeah.
So yeah, big fan of that. And obviously the final player then is Edo Kayembe heading out to the Congo. Two fixtures for him, playing the Sudan and South Africa as well, which is decent for him as well. Nice to still get
Yeah.
picked, although he hasn't really had much game time with Watford. To still be picked for your country is probably one of the best things you can hope for as a professional. And very nice to see he's still very much involved with the Dominican Republic, Congo, which is fantastic for him. So, James,
Yeah.
just to round up the pod before we finish, out of 10, how well would you say the opening games of the Championship season have gone? Just take into account everything rather than just the results, because it'd be a pretty low score if it was just on the results. But James, score out of 10, please. How have the opening games gone?
I'm going to score it as a 6 out of 10.
6 out of 10.
Because I think what's counting against my sort of high score is obviously the lack of points and lack of wins. And we've spoken about some of the issues sort of both going forward and in attack. So that's scoring them down. But what's making me sort of, be more positive than negative, i.e. a score greater than 5, I think is everything that we've spoken about in the past, really. There's a plan. The players look engaged. The players look happy. We played good football in parts. We're starting to see maybe signs that the club are rebuilding and restructuring around a head coach and the needs of that individual, rather than forcing a head coach to work with effectively what he's been given by the club.
Yeah,
so, rebuild, transfer window, some good football. I'm going to have it as a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, no, I will give it a. I think I'll give it a 6 out of 10 as well. I think you've won me over. I was going to give it a 5, but I think generally the points that you put forward have swayed me there. I'll give it a 6 then. Yeah, I think there's definitely more positives than negatives. I think just the main factor that's come into it, that is coming into it, to sort of bring it down a little bit, is just the end product being the results, that kind of thing. So yeah, James, did you just want to give us a little roundup for the Watford women's fixture that happened this weekend?
Yeah, absolutely, mate. It was the London City girls. Unfortunately, the Watford women, they lost, didn't they? 3-2, which was a shame. But as we spoke on the last pod, challenging league from this season. But it looks like they're absolutely being competitive. And again, they did take the lead, unfortunately, in this game, but got pegged back. But showed a little bit of fight to get back into it. But just couldn't get the result. So they're sat 9th in the table at the moment with a point from their 2 games. But hopefully they can pick up and then have a successful season.
Yeah, I think what should be known is that London City are probably one of the favourites this season, I believe. I can't say I've watched a lot of the London City ladies play, so I could be wildly wrong with that. But I think the general consensus from WSL fans has been that they are quite the solid side. So for the ladies to push them right to the end. Really be knocking on the door right until the final whistle, just to unfortunately lose 3-2. Does There are more positives again? It does seem a bit like the results aren't suggesting that both teams are playing particularly well, but I think generally the performances are positive, trending in the right direction. Just need that that final little ball to come in, and they can both kick on from there.
And they play Charlton this Sunday, 2:00 kickoff. So if you like us and don't care about international football, maybe get yourself down to Charlton. Whether it's at Valley or not, I don't know. But go support the Golden Girls if you're nearby.
Absolutely, get yourself down there. So we'll round off the podcast for this week. I really do hope you have enjoyed. Please, of course, don't forget to subscribe and like the video. It does help us a lot. Make sure to listen to us on all of the audio platforms available. It'll be on screen for you now if you're watching on YouTube. They're always available on all of those every week without fail. So if you're busy one week, you can't watch the video, audio is there for you. Leave us a 5-star review on Spotify, and we'll catch you again very soon. Take care, guys, and thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks, guys. See you later.